Today we have the poem The Nightmail. Nightmail written by W.H. Auden. W.H. Auden is a prolific, iconic writer of the early 20th century. And here in this poem, he is giving us the importance of the night mail that is carrying letters from England to Scotland. Now, what is it that makes it so important? In today's world, we are constantly getting messages, we are getting emails, our electronic devices are constantly buzzing with information from all around the world, from our near and dear ones. But how was it once upon a time? How was it back in the 1930s? And here we can see how W.H. Auden is showing us that powerful connection, the communication that happened because of the night mail. So let's look into the poem. This is the night mail crossing the border, bringing the cheque and the postal order. Letters for the rich, letters for the poor, the shop at the corner, the girl next door. So this poem makes us think of the night mail, how it is going from England to Scotland, carrying checks, postal order, all manner of documents required for people of various stations in life. And he gives the example: letters for the rich, there are letters for the poor. The shop in the corner, the shop people who are waiting for a certain news or maybe any kind of social interaction. The girl next door who is just waiting for an ordinary letter, perhaps from a relative. So here we see that yes, there is a rhyme scheme, and also right from the beginning there are rhyming words like border, order, poor, door. Pulling a Beattock, a steady climb, the gradients against her, but she's on time. Past cotton grass and moorland boulder, shoveling white steam over her shoulder. Now the train is a very mechanical thing. We know that it is a machine. So to talk about machinery, people usually use scientific language. But here, Auden, by using the word she, he says the gradients against her. The very path of nature is against her. The train has to go up and down. The train has to go through the craggy mountains of Scotland. But she is on time. By putting the word she, here we see the device personification. The train is given human qualities and is called she. Looking over her shoulder, the train is looking over her shoulder at the steam that is emitted. Again, human quality. So remember, personification is the device used here. Now, even though we do not feel it necessary, there is a so-called tendency to put something emotional to the feminine. That is, it is a cliche, or it is something that is commonly used. Here, by making the train feminine, Auden is trying to give us that emotional quotient. The train is an emotional being, bringing letters of connection. The female, so-called, is usually used to denote connectivity, communication, keeping the world together, knitting the world, like Mrs. Dalloway, knitting the world together. So here, this poem was written as required for a BBC documentary by the General Post Office, and Auden has given this particular poem as the end of that documentary to tell the public, the English people, of how the night mail is working. So this also shows us the nature, the landscape of the period, how the train is going against, going up and down, past cotton grass and moorland boulder. So these two words, cotton grass, moorland boulder, so this makes us think of the moorlands, the vast expanse of moorland. So here we see visual imagery. Snorting noisily as she passes, silent miles of wind-bent grasses. So she's snorting noisily again, humanizing personification. She is snorting very noisily as she goes up. And that is when the train makes that chug chug noise and it's going up. We know the noise produced. So it is shown as snorting loudly, the steam rising. Silent miles, and then there are also the silent miles of quietness. The landscape is very quiet and the train is passing through. The train operates at night. It is a nightmail, remember, from the term or the topic, the title of the poem. Then again, when you say steady climb, one particular place is mentioned so far is Beattock. Beattock is one of the highest points in Scotland on the way from London to Glasgow, we need to remember. And this highest point is reached by the train pushing upward. So that's the highest point, and it is a very steep incline after that. So this natural landscape, how beautifully Auden is drawing it, that we can see it, how the train is going through all these natural landscape. Birds turn their head as she approaches, stare from bushes at her blank-faced coaches. Even the birds, the natural imagery, birds are turning and looking. And what is the meaning of that look? It is curiosity. The birds are wondering, what is this steam engine that is just passing? What is this huge piece of machinery? Because everything else around there is natural. They are staring blank-faced at the blank-faced coaches. Sheepdogs cannot turn her course. They slumber on with paws across. So we see the sheepdog and even the imagery of it putting its hands on each other and lying there with its paws crossed. And the sheepdog is a creature. This dog is usually used in the villages for rounding up all the sheep. There would be a huge group or a herd of sheep would be going, and there would be the sheepdogs, one or two dogs who are holding them together and bringing them back home. So the sheepdog is a guard dog and is always used to taking care of the flock. So the sheepdog is wondering, is there something for me to do here? But then he understands, the sheepdog understands that this is nothing to do with me, and it is very contently sitting, crossing its paws and just looking at the train. In the farm she passes, no one wakes, but a jug in a bedroom gently shakes. So here we see that the train is now passing through a farm. It was passing over a mountain, in the valleys, now through a farm. And nobody wakes. People are used to the night mail. They know the night mail is going. That sound they are used to, and people are sleeping. But of course, there is a rumbling sound of the train, and there is a certain frequency it will reach that it can cause a vibration or a shaking. And we see a jug is shaking in the room. In the bedroom, that gentle shake is there because of the rumbling movement. Then, in spite of all the ups and downs of the landscape, the poet wants us to know that the night mail is on time. She is doing her duty. It could be a metaphor for life itself. For in life, there are ups and downs, there are various varying landscapes. But the duty of life itself is to show up, on time, is to do what one can do to the best of one's ability, to constantly communicate, to constantly connect the people that are around us. This is the meaning of life itself. And this metaphor of the night mail's journey can be the journey of life itself. Dawn freshens, her climb is done. Down towards Glasgow she descends. So in spite of all the hurdles and everything, she's going down towards Glasgow. Her climb is done. When dawn freshens, it is morning. Towards the steam tugs yelping down a glade of cranes, towards the field of apparatus, the furnaces. set on the dark plain like gigantic chessmen. Now we see the landscape is changing. Here, reaching towards Glasgow, the poet says there are a glade of cranes, huge cranes, furnaces, apparatus. The scene looks like gigantic chessmen standing. What does this all imply? The poem is set in 1930s. This was a period of industrial revolution. More and more industrial revolution in a period of economic instability. It is a period that is coming sometime after the First World War. It is the 1930s. The Second World War has not begun. It is somewhere around 1936. But the instability of Europe has begun. There are political upheavals. News is reaching England and Scotland about the unrest that is there overall in Europe. So, political letters also would have been expected, even though this is not during the wartime and the poet is not emphasizing about war. We still have to understand that the political upheavals of the period would have made it very important for people of various places to have letters that connected them, to know of the safety and well-being of their people. And also so many letters simply connecting people, because that was the only way that people would know about their loved ones. It is not like today where there would be so many methods of communication that a person who landed in a particular place would immediately give a message or a phone call. No, the one who is waiting at home would have to wait for the letter, which would take its own time in reaching. So the apparatus, the furnaces, the cranes, all of it brings to mind the industrial revolution. And we see the consonants like dawn freshens, down towards, descends. So D, 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 the consonants are being present, which is all giving a feeling of descending downwards. So that is a sound that is used. All Scotland waits for her in dark glens beside pale green locks. Men long for news. So here the missionary, the industrial revolution is shown as the background. But in Scotland, even in the glens, in the green valleys, in the lochs, the lakes nearby, everywhere in the tiny villages, men wait eagerly, because ever since mankind has begun, man has eagerly waited for communication or news. It is this speech or this feeling of communication, of holding communities together from time immemorial, whether it is villages, townships, the very countries have depended on this communication. Man is not an island. Man needs to constantly feel the presence of his fellow human beings. Men long for news. Letters of thanks. Now coming the next paragraph, Auden, the poet, is telling us about what kind of letters it could be. Letters of thanks, letters from banks, letters of joy from girl to girl and boy, receipted bills and invitations to inspect new stock or to visit relations, and applications for situations. See these very lines or 4 lines. Life itself is showed. Applications for situations. Imagine the number of people sitting in their homes writing letters for positions in various companies, in various homes. Ladies, men and women, a woman sitting and writing a letter to become a teacher or a governess in those times, or a man again writing to the military, to the bank, men and women performing equally during those industrial times. So they would be waiting home to get a reply saying that they have got an opportunity, a job. Letters of joy from girl and boy, those letters of marriage, of love. So many love letters the nightmail would have carried. Those letters filled with passion of a person waiting for their beloved to come back from travel, from studies, from adventures. Then receipted bills and invitations to various places, bills, wills, all manner of paper. Then letters of thanks coming from banks, telling people of maybe their savings or how they can spend their money on whatever wishes that life is throwing towards them. So these things make the train very human. Something that is a purely scientific invention, a purely piece of machinery, such as the train, is given a very human form here. So we see that is personification, visual imagery, auditory imagery, the train making a sound, and also all the other sounds that are presented of the birds, then the furnaces and the apparatus, the industrial sounds. So this is all auditory imagery. Then there is the constant rhyme scheme of wakes, shakes, goes, across, approaches, coaches. So many rhyming words are there. The train is crossing all over the man-made borders. Communication too is like that, crossing over the borders, crossing the barriers man communicates with his fellow being. And timid lovers, declarations, and gossip from all the nations. News, circumstantial news, financial, letters with holiday snaps to enlarge in, letters with faces scrawled on the margin, letters from uncles, cousins, and aunts. So we have letters coming from uncles, cousins, aunts, people, maybe somebody who is in Scotland and their cousins and relatives who are living in England or anywhere at all. These letters bring them news of how their family is settled abroad, news, circumstantial news, financial, about money matters, and gossip from all the nations. Gossip both big and small. On one side, we see the gossip of the day-to-day activities of people and also the international news, which is also coming across as gossip. The timid lovers' declarations, lovers who are writing to their beloved, timid declarations of love, of proposals. What so many emotions these letters would have carried. Letters to Scotland from the south of France, letters of condolence to highlands and lowlands. There would be letters of comfort to grieving families from highlands and lowlands. Written of paper of every hue, the pink, the violet, the white, and the blue. Now, these are the colors mentioned. You might have these kind of questions of Scotland and the south of France, or the color of the paper, like the pink, the violet, the white, and blue. These could come as MCQ questions. So, keep in mind. So these are the various hues of the paper at that time purchased and on which these letters were written. The chatty, the catty, the boring, the adoring. So these are the kind of emotions the tone of the poem is showing. The kind of emotions. There are chatty letters, catty letters, letters that are, very sarcastic and wanting to know what the other person is up to. The boring letters, the mundane letters, just informing people of the very ordinary and boring activities. The adoring letters, letters are which are full of adoration towards a beloved. The cold and the official and the hearts outpouring, clever, stupid, short, and long. So some letters would be clever, some are stupid, some are short and long. Cold and official and the hearts outpouring. The typed and the printed and the spelt all wrong. And there would be illiterate letters spelt all wrong, childish scrawls towards a father or mother who is far away from the child. Then there would be the typed and printed letters from official letters. Thousands are still asleep, dreaming of terrifying monsters or a friendly tea beside the band in Cranston's or Crawford. Again, two more places mentioned are Cranston's and Crawford's. So thousands of people are asleep in the night. The night mail is going while people are asleep. but they are dreaming of terrifying monsters because life brings its ups and downs. And when one house is waiting for news that is something happy tidings, perhaps of a wedding or of some news of financial aid, there would be at the same time another house that is grieving, waiting for terrible news of so many sad things happening, of missing or losing family members. So, terrifying monsters might inhabit their dreams. Asleep in working Glasgow, asleep in well set Edinburgh. So many places in England and Scotland. People are asleep in Glasgow, they're asleep in Edinburgh, asleep in Granite, Aberdeen. They continue their dreams. They're all sleeping. But while they are sleeping, this communication is happening. And it is because of the nightmail. The nightmail is so properly doing its duty. They continue their dreams and shall wake soon and hope for letters. And none will hear the postman's knock without a quickening of the heart. And whenever one sees the postman, there is a quickening of the heart. There is an emotion building up in that person, wondering, is there news for me? What news awaits me? And the last line of the poem, which is very important, the poet says, for who can bear to feel himself forgotten? Such is life that no man can bear to be forgotten. Nobody on this world, in this earth, wants to be forgotten. Every man and woman wants to be witnessed. Their life must have witnesses. Their life must be people with the people that they love. They want to know what is going on around in the world around them. And it is very important, this connection. So here in many places we can see assonance, that is the repetition of vowel sounds or consonant sounds. Again, when they say who can bear to feel himself forgotten, forgotten, bear, who, the O, E kind of sounds, sounds. So this is a vowel repetition which emphasizes the point. So some of the poetic devices we can remember is personification, visual and auditory imagery. Then we have assonance in several places where the consonants are repeated, the vowels are repeated, the AB rhyme scheme throughout. Thank you.